Welcome to Training Industry Quarterly Electronic Magazine, Spring 2012 edition podcast of the article, Assessing Learning and Performance by Malcolm Poulin. Which is more important, high levels of learning or high levels of performance? It depends on your context. Are the results in your annual report based on learning or performance? What are the criteria for employee and executive bonuses? How are sales commissions calculated? When surveyed about satisfaction, upon what do your customers base their responses? While it seems as though learning leaders and executives have been saying, "So what?" in regards to learning lately, the sentiment behind that phrase is actually emotionless and analytical. What they're really saying is this: we invest in learning programs and events, but do we recognize performance results of individual employees or with the business overall? Just as with business transformation efforts, we must assess the value and return of our learning programs. So when you hear, "So what?" that's a cue to align with the speaker in order to learn the true value of workforce learning investments through performance assessments. What should we really be assessing? Some examples of key performance indicators for business optimization initiatives include software transactions, inventory turns, orders completed, customer satisfaction, shipments complete, safety compliance, expense control, and customer served. There are certain criteria of success for each category. The criteria could even differ within one company based on many factors, such as market, customers, employee history, local laws, and economy. Does that mean we must be subjective with our objectivity? When assessing learning, the go-to data is about learning events and activities, such as hours logged, courses completed, lessons started and completed, exercises completed, and evaluation of the event. These concepts have their place in evaluating learning assets and facilitation. However, there is no substitute for knowing whether learning objectives have been met or exceeded, and the impact that has on performance. There is a significant new marriage in organizations: the alignment of workforce investment analytics and the desired impact on business transformation. This is where you'll hear "so what" from business managers, as they're under more scrutiny than ever regarding expenses in this post-recession world. Another common phrase is how to do more with less. Business and market indicators are encouraging, but hiring is not yet following suit. The goal of business managers is not to overburden the workforce, but to recognize more yield from their efforts. During the recession, workforce reduction was a goal. Workforce retention is now the focus. What's behind all the "so what"? Often, training investments are regarded as overhead expenses, divorced from the intent of specific business transformations. When the training function is centralized, the width of that chasm grows even wider, begging more "so what" in response to phrases such as, "We developed training," "We conducted training sessions," "We included every detail about the entire initiative," "Everyone came in from around the plant, city, state, country, world to attend the training." The reason for the question is simple. Managers want results more than they want training. Employees don't want their time wasted. Retention in the classroom is low. Travel is cumbersome and expensive. The only employees who can participate are those employed and in their role at the time of the event. It takes too much time and money to develop and deliver traditional training. The global nature of contemporary business demands localized language, concepts, and governance. And one size does not fit all. In order to properly answer the "so what" question, we need to start a sentence with "so that," followed by a subject and verb. Individuals should be identified by role and responsibilities. The verb should be based on desired performance. That desired performance can be directly tied to individual outcomes that yield business outcomes relevant to the transformation. Is learning assessment really only performance assessment? A comprehensive model to address workforce learning and performance can be helpful. The model starts with identifying performance targets and outcomes, and ends with observation and measurement of that performance and those outcomes. As you can see, the enablement for the workforce to perform is multifaceted. Once we ensure our strategies are intact for enabling workforce learning and performance, we can concentrate on assessment. This assessment can be conducted in several ways: observation, survey, testing, and reporting. By truly aligning with the criteria for success for the transformation, We can execute reports to provide the business intelligence needed to make our judgments. However, if we need to also assess the individual contributions to those criteria, we need to focus on the individuals in the workforce. If the outcomes for the workforce are operational, such as in a mill, on a loading dock, or in a warehouse, we may need to evaluate performance based on observation. However, by correlating objective data with subjective evaluation, we get a comprehensive picture of success and the contribution of those on the front line. How can IT set the stage? The current economy typically dictates we address our transformation needs without significant investment in capital and assets, human or physical. Given that, there is a significant focus on infrastructure, often enabled by shared services, such as with information technology, IT. Investments in IT may be physical assets in a data center or applications within the cloud. If the investment is in enterprise applications, adoption by the workforce is the most important criteria for success. True adoption is not just an emotional concept, however. It also implies a high level of ownership, proficiency, and compliance. With organizations now leveraging software and business applications in the cloud, the most important predictor of success is how the change is managed. To those on the front line, how they conduct their work and the tools they use are everything. They deserve the recognition when their adoption is high. They also deserve attention when more is needed to enable their performance. That could be as simple as providing more data specific to their tasks, or it could entail developing assets to support their learning in the classroom, or better yet, on the job. Regardless, working within a community where sharing information and capabilities is the norm provides the greatest results. Power within an organization comes from the ability to make the best decisions. Providing everyone in the community with data about employee experiences within the business process provides us with the power to make targeted decisions about how to improve and enable performance. For example, within an inbound call center, the measurements for success are often customer satisfaction and issue resolution. However, another criterion for success is speed to resolution, which is often gauged and governed by software transactions. By adding objective data to the assessment, we can now recognize the proficiency with which business applications are being used, or remediate when necessary. Which is better in a performance assessment, objective or subjective? Which is more valuable? Which is easier to obtain? Which is easier to represent? Which is easier to analyze? Each has their own relevance, value, and complexities. Once analyzed, all data converts to information and supports making targeted assessments and investments in the workforce and performance. Subjective data is generated in several ways: observation, surveys, interviews, and discussions. The focus is all about context. It reflects what was happening around the performer at the time of collection. It includes descriptors of mood, opinion, enablement, organization, and customer scenarios. It looks both backward and forward. Objective data provides the facts related to outcomes, throughput, and proficiency. Business results can be obtained from the annual report. Objective human performance data can now be obtained electronically using innovative software solutions. The output shows proficiency and efficiency and feeds the resulting business outcomes. Aggregating subjective and objective data about the performance of individuals, organizations, and the business gives the most power to make decisions, resulting in better performance and business results. So it really is not an either-or question. Data yields information. Information is power. Lightweight technologies exist that can provide data to assess transaction success, errors encountered, speed of transaction completion, process compliance, software performance, and playback of the process. By reviewing and analyzing this data, individual performance can be reported and assessed. The software collects all the necessary data into a single database. By contextually tagging the elements of that database, we can assess the impact of learning on performance at many levels. Individuals identified by name or unique tag. Groups defined in relevant ways: location, business unit, language, tenure, role, etc. Transactions named, tagged, associated, and given context so they make sense to stakeholders. Software uniquely classified to allow assessment of the employee experience within their role and work environment. System messages identified and grouped so stakeholders can take the proper actions. In the past, we relied on clipboards, checklists, and anecdotes to describe the proficiency, efficiency, compliance, and overall experience of employees on the job. We can now leverage emerging technologies like from Noah Software or Ancillary to provide objective data with contextual tagging. These are the components we need to correlate the business results that give us the power to really succeed. We can now determine if business goals are met and how the employee population contributed to the outcome, positively or negatively. This empowers us to take action. Where our assessment of workforce effectiveness is positive, we can determine whether past employee investments should be continued and optimized. Where the assessment is negative, we can identify exactly where employees need learning, performance support, and collaboration to improve their performance. The power of correlation in the assessment process becomes the new normal. Learning professionals can become business analysts. Managers can become coaches. Executives can invest exactly as needed. And employees feel supported, enabled, and encouraged. All this, in turn, fosters a high rate of retention, both in our employees and our company's intellectual capital. Malcolm Poulin is the Director of Strategic Solutions at RWD, a division of GP Strategies. He has been in the corporate and learning performance field for over 32 years. Takeaways. In the field of learning and development, we face the challenge of assessing the impact learning has on performance and the impact individual performance has on organization outcomes. Operational efficiency and effectiveness is a primary concern in today's economy, and assessing learning and performance is a vital practice that can add value to the business. When planning assessments of your learning initiatives, consider the following. The real value of assessing learning and workforce performance is aligning with business goals, engagement with stakeholders, and relevance to outcomes that are produced. There is no substitute for knowing whether learning objectives have been met or exceeded and the impact that has on performance. The correlation of data is easier to obtain due to business intelligence tools. Operational statistics empower stakeholders to make business decisions with the greatest impact on the business. When our assessment of workforce effectiveness is positive, we can determine whether past employee investments should be continued and optimized. When our assessment is negative, we can identify exactly where employees need learning, performance support, and collaboration to improve performance. Assessments can foster a high rate of retention, both in employees and company intellectual capital. You've been listening to Assessing Learning and Performance by Malcolm Poulin. For more podcasts and articles like this, visit www.trainingindustry.com. Thanks for listening. I'm John Sherlock.